Hi everyone, this is Vivian. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the most important thing when it comes to practicing calligraphy. Now, when I first started learning calligraphy, I took some in-person classes and I also took some online classes. And I also find a lot of resources online that I can just learn from. But over the time, I realized there's one most important thing. Doesn't matter if you're learning from person or in class, online, or just, free resources. And that is consistency. Now, you may know that learning something, the first step is to know what's good and what's bad. There is the proper way of doing things, and then there's the wrong way of doing things. If you're learning an instrument, there's a right way of playing it, there's the wrong way of playing it. You're cooking, there's the right way of cooking and using knife, there's the wrong way of using it. And the second step is to know why is it right, why is it wrong. So why is playing instrument certain way is right, why is the other way is wrong. And then the third stage is to know how to improve. So if you're not doing it right, how do you change it? How do you improve it? And if you're doing right, how do you keep on improving? So back to consistency. When I talk about consistency in writing calligraphy, there's 4 places we can apply this to. The first place is the stroke, and the second is the size. The third is the slant. The fourth is the spacing. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the stroke and the size. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about the slant and the spacing. So let's dive in. First consistency we want to tackle is the stroke width. We all know that what makes calligraphy different is from regular writing is the thick and the thin strokes. So by applying pressures on the pen, you get a thick stroke, and releasing the pressure, you get a thin stroke. So not only that, we want to have consistent in the stroke width. So when you write downstroke, when you have a thick downstroke, they should always be the same width. And we can practice this in a gradual way by first writing a short downstroke. So when you practice downstroke, you want to make sure you apply equal pressure throughout that one stroke. And also you want to have a definite beginning and a definite end. So start, finish, or start, stop, beginning, and end. So when you look at your own writing, you want to, I'm using a point and to point. So you want to first make sure throughout this one stroke, they are the same width. And also all your downstroke are the same width. So if I'm using a Crayola marker, it might be more obvious to demonstrate. If your pressure change while you're writing, you might get a bigger top and then the skinnier end. Or if you're writing to your pressure change, of course this is I'm exaggerating, but you don't want this to happen. And then once you get a hang of that, you can do a longer stroke. That was not a good one. And you can alternate between doing the X high and the baseline from the X high and the ascender to the X high to the descender line. And then alternating with the short one, long one. This way, when you're writing when you start writing actual words, because words we have sometimes ascender, descender, then you can, whether you're writing a D and then a P, they should all have the same thicknesses. So this is a good practice just to get your stroke to be uniform. And then we can do the same practice with upstrokes. So upstroke is where I'm going to do a diagonal line across the X high box. So even though you're applying lighter pressure, you still want to have a definite start and an end. Now I noticed that especially when you're writing a word, usually the capital letter is where you see this mistake more obvious. So say if I'm writing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a word. So if I'm writing pop, the uppercase P and then lowercase p, they should have the same stroke width. Sometimes you feel like because it's bigger words, you apply more pressure onto it, so you get a thicker downstroke. But then when your word is smaller, you kind of like apply less pressure. So at first glance, this might not look terrible, but if you look, this is definitely thicker than this. So by practicing these hopefully will help you to not make the mistake. The second consistency we want to tackle is in size. A lot of times when we first start writing, we feel like we want to make a final artwork already. So you start writing without any guide sheet, and what happened is your size start to change because your hand is still not used to producing the same size of letters in calligraphy. So what I would suggest is to practice on a guide sheet, even when you have the urge to start writing on a blank sheet of paper. So especially in the trickier words such as the S and the R and the K, these are the three that I see a lot that the size will often change. And the reason is that for S, the S should really peak above the X high. So is the R. Otherwise, otherwise compared to other lowercase letter, it's going to look too small. And if one letter in the middle of your word is out of the size is out of whack, then whatever comes after will start to shift. And with K, it's very important that whether you're writing it this way or if you're writing it this way, make sure this is hitting the X high. Very often I see because there's a loop here and then you want to duck, so your K becomes small, and once this loop gets small, then everything else it's like going out of proportion. Now these are regarding the height of the letter, but the same thing goes to the width, especially if you're writing similar shape of letter such as the C, the E, or the A, or the O. These are all kind of like an oval shape, so you want them to be similar in width. If your C is very skinny and then your A is very fat and then your O is really round, then you're missing that consistency. So these are the few things that you can watch out when you're practicing consistency when it comes to size. I hope now you can go back to your practice sheet and look for the size consistency and the strokes consistency. And like I said, in the next video, we're going to talk about the slant and the spacing. These two are more advanced, so I'm going to spend more time explaining them. I hope you like this video and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.